Graziella and the Great Piggyback Adventure. It was springtime on the island of New Florida, and the sun was shining, and the birds were singing, and the trains were working really hard with passengers, freight, and gender products. Amtrak is the longest distance passenger train in the United States, and it goes to many states except Wyoming and South Dakota. They are both states that do not support Amtrak service because there's not as many rail transport in them, and they just use bus service. The MBTA commuter rail is a state-supported train in Massachusetts. It has a purple color, and there's subways, streetcars, and buses and more. And the MBTA commuter rail goes to Boston and Rhode Island. The Silver Meteor is a train that shares service with the Silver Star, which has similar station stops, but they're close to the same, but not exactly. Amtrak is an important route in North America because it has sleeper service, business class, coach class, and more, and that's what makes it really useful indeed. One day, Mr. Cakester was in the rail yard. He was very excited to meet some new engines. "Welcome to my yard," said Mr. Cakester. "I want you 7 to introduce yourselves." "My name is Graziella," said the green engine. "My name is Mild," said the other. "My name is Sarah," said the Maryland engine. "My name's Malaysia," said the ATSF engine. "I'm Matika," said the bigger ATSF. "I'm Tessa," said the other. "And finally, my name is Michelle," said their tail engine. "Nice to meet you, sir," Graziella and the engine said. "Welcome to my rail..." "Thanks, nice to meet you too," said Mr. Cakester. "I would like you to pull a piggyback train of truck trailers and on a big mega consist today," he said. "So I want 7 of you to be careful and gentle." "All right, sir. We're electric," said Graziella. And they steamed out of the yard. "Women engines are important to us," Graziella said, "because we're really useful, just like the other engines." Graziella, Hella, Mild, Sarah, Malaysia, Matika, Tessa, and Michelle made their way out of the yard, and meanwhile, Graziella was having her battery charged. "I'm quieter than an electric car," whispered Graziella. She was right. Just then, Ida puffed in. She was taking building supplies to the new gender museum site. She pulled up to a stop. "Hello, Graziella. My name is Ida," Ida said. "Mr. Cakester is my owner, and I'm delivering building supplies to the new gender museum." "What's a museum?" asked Mild. It's a place where you keep old things for people to stand and look at, Ida said, so you can take good care of it even if it's priceless or expensive. She was right. It's good to bring steam locomotives back from obsolescence, said Graziella. I'm a woman engine. I'm a woman engine too, said Ida. I'm Mr. Cakestor's engine. But be careful with the train, she said. And she steamed out of the station. I know a lot about trains, Ida said, because gender vehicles are important to me. And she went off to the site. Before long, Graziella's battery was charged, and she steamed over to the train cars. Here I go, she said. She buffered up to the lead cars, and they steamed out of the yard. This is the longest train ever, Graziella said. And the hopper car had lots of candy in it for the chocolate factory, and the guard had an overnight brake van. It had a fold-down bed so the passengers can sleep on at night. The train was big. Mega train coming through, Graziella, Mild, and the others said. It was big. And the guard was in the brake van, and he saw the whole train way ahead. It was huge. Septuple header coming through, Graziella, Mild, Sarah, Melisha, Matika, Tessa, and Michelle all said at the same time, Women's train coming through, we're going down the line! They were feeling pleased with themselves. And before long, the sun began to set. I love sunsets, said Graziella, because women trains like us can do anything on the whole railway. They steamed along. And before long, the guard went to sleep in the caboose, and Graziella and the others steamed down the line. Here we go, they said. Night train coming through. And it was dark, and the guard was sleeping in the brake van, and it was nice and cozy as a sleeper car. When morning broke, Donald and Douglas were pulling a train of hazardous materials. It was a long freight train. There were lots and lots of cars. Graziella and her trailing units were enjoying themselves. And so were Donald and Douglas. They were the Scottish twin engines from Sodor. "Are like Paranardi's train towers," Donald said. "It's best to do so, Donald," Douglas said. They were feeling happy. And Graziella steamed down the line with the whole train. It was massive! I know a lot about women trains, said Mild, because I'm a trailing unit. I hope nothing's in our way, said Graziella to herself, but she spoke too soon. The guard was having a cup of tea in the brake van, and Donald and Douglas steamed down the line. "What's that sound, Doogie?" asked Donald. "I'm not sure, Doogie, Donald," said Douglas. "Well, it's not a woman train or a man train or a learning train," said Donald. "Maybe it's not," said Douglas. "Did not. Did too. Did not. Did too." They argued down the line. But Graziella became oblivious to what was happening ahead. And the train was long. "Donald and Douglas are arguing," Graziella said, "and we're oblivious about it." "Oh my goodness," cried Graziella. "There's a brake van behind a toxic train in our way." And the guard saw Graziella right in front of him. Graziella's driver threw on the emergency brakes. But it was too late. It happened. Fire raged into the air. And finally, everything came to a stop. When Dwee saw the accident, she could not believe it. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the freight cars in rear stayed on the rails, and the freight cars in front derailed the toxic train with hazardous materials, and it was dark and foggy, and everything was peaceful, and Graziella had turned on her side and was feeling damaged. "I don't feel like a woman engine now," she said. "I feel like a crumpled engine." Mild and Sarah were toppled over and the rest remained upright. "These engines didn't listen to Mr. Cakestur's advice at all," Dwee said, "and Ida told them to be careful and they were careless." "Maybe they were careless," Jaden said, "because big locomotives can be useful." "Exactly right, Jaden," Dwee said. "It's good to be useful." That night, a raging thunderstorm rolled in. Thunder crashed and lightning flashed, and Graziella and the 3 trailing units were in their shed. "It's cozy in here," Graziella said, "'cause I'm a kind woman engine." "We should focus on our job next time," said Mild. "Good idea," Sarah and Michelle said. Early the next morning, the storm had passed, and the trains were being really useful on the rails to make up for the wreck. And some of the scrap from the rolling stock was used to make new train cars and engines. And even though the wreck wasn't hurtful or worsened. All the engines on the rails can only hope that something like that isn't repeated in future.